the expanded child tax credit. She wants to give families tax credits of up to $3,600 per child, as well as a new initiative of $6,000 per child in their first year of life. Kamala Harris knows that families with young children don't just need to get by. They deserve to get ahead and thrive. Meanwhile, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have zero plans to make childcare more affordable and lower costs for American families. In fact, they want to raise taxes for middle-class families by nearly $4,000 a year, all wrapped up in the very dangerous agenda of Project 2025. This will make it harder for parents like me and many others out there to afford childcare and other important necessities. And while we're on this, did you hear what J.D. Vance said when asked about his plan to lower childcare costs? His idea for the childcare crisis was just have grandma and grandpa watch the kids. You almost want to laugh at it, but it is so insulting that you can't. It just shows how completely out of touch Trump and Vance are and how they have absolutely no plan when it comes to helping working class families. Wisconsin cannot afford another 4 years of Donald Trump, a man who clearly has proven that he cares more about the bank accounts and pocketbooks of billionaires than those of us in the middle class. Working parents shouldn't have to make those impossible choices. Vice President Harris's plan will ensure that parents can take care of their jobs and also their families. So we are all going to show up and turn out and vote for Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. And for families like mine and those across Wisconsin, we will make it happen. Thank you so much. And I am now going to pass it off to Jason Hodkiewicz.
Thank you, Nicole. Good morning, everyone. As Nicole mentioned, my name is Jason Hodkiewicz. My wife and I are the owners of Play and Grow Learning Center. We have 4 locations in the Appleton area. As a small business owner, I'm a big believer that working hard and playing by the rules is the key to success. We are extremely proud to have been able to offer childcare over the years for our community, and it's actually going on about 16 years now. Wisconsin's childcare shortage is absolutely dire, and I know that this facility is a lifeline for the families that we serve. But I also know that we need more support to keep offering top-notch services and eliminate childcare deserts in the Badger State. Currently, 48,000 Wisconsin kids are on a wait list for childcare because of a lack of funding from Trump's MAGA allies in-state. During the pandemic, Vice President Harris helped pass the American Rescue Plan, which gave childcare centers like mine an influx of federal funding to help us stay afloat and pay our teachers and caregivers a competitive wage. The American Rescue Plan was critical to keeping our doors open during some of the most challenging times. Vice President Harris and Governor Evers have shown that they had our backs then, and Vice President Harris has a plan to support us when she takes office as president. She has a plan for a new way forward to cut costs for families, make it cheaper to rent and buy a home, and cut down on the price of groceries. Many of the comments made by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance show that they have not given any real thought on how to help the child care crisis. J.D. Vance thinks families should rely more on family members to watch their kids, and Donald Trump doesn't seem to think that child care is all that expensive for families. It just shows how out of touch they are when it comes to the real struggles for working families. Trump's extreme agenda would eliminate Head Start, which provides access to no-cost childcare and early childhood education, among other services, for over 14,000 low-income children in Wisconsin. Eliminating Head Start would wipe out a critical supply of childcare in rural and other underserved communities that already face a lack of childcare slots. Donald Trump and Republicans do not care about working families or about helping families across and afford childcare, access and afford childcare, and they do not care about childcare centers like ours. In this election, we all have a choice to make. We can choose an economy built for Donald Trump and the ultra-rich, or we can choose an economy built for you and for me, for the hardworking middle-class families who make up the backbone of America. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz will never stop fighting for us and will never put corporations or the wealthy over small businesses and the middle class. They know that investing in childcare is investing in a better future for our community and our country. They care about us, about an America where middle-class Wisconsinites have the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. And we'll now pass it over to our Secretary of State, Sarah Godlewski.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Jason, for allowing us to be here at your child care center and for taking your career to teach our next young minds here in Wisconsin. And Nicole, thank you for being here. As a working mom, I want you to know we see you, and we want to do everything we can to support you. So my name is Sarah Godlewski. I am Wisconsin's Secretary of State, but most importantly, I am a mom of a 4-year-old son. And like many of the stories you've heard today, my family was no different. We tried to find child care for Hartley, as 50% of our state, we know right now, is facing a child care desert. Because what is one of the most important issues this election? It's child care. Child care is essential to Wisconsin's working families. Without it, parents can't participate in our workforce. They can't contribute to our economy. But unfortunately, childcare is out of reach for so many parents. They can't afford it or they can't access it because of the severe shortages that Jason talked about. You know, parents want what's best for our kids, but how do they do that while balancing a career and they don't have access to childcare? But, you know, thank goodness we have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz who get it. They have proposed child tax credits for middle-class families. The child tax credit will get up to $3,600 per child, and they've done a new child tax credit, which would be $6,000 for the first year of a child's life, often the most expensive time to bring in a new family member. Kamala Harris's plan would lower costs for working-class families by restoring this much-needed child tax credit, so parents actually have more money to spend on food and child care and other necessities. When I was traveling the state, I would hear these stories when we had the child tax credit during COVID, as teachers would talk to me about how they're seeing kids have jackets and boots and gloves for the first time because families simply couldn't afford it. It wasn't because they didn't want it, they couldn't afford these necessities for our kids. Meanwhile, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance want to raise costs on Wisconsin families. In their Project 2025 agenda, costs for the middle-class families would increase almost $4,000 in tax hikes. $4,000 in tax hikes. So, who would benefit, though, from their tax cut that they talk about? It would be corporations and wealthy Americans, which is exactly what Donald Trump did last time. His tax cut went to billionaires and corporations, not to middle-class working families, and it also increased the deficit by trillions of dollars. And Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, has gone above and beyond by saying that child care for working families is a class war against normal people. I mean, how out of touch is this guy? I can tell you, Wisconsinites will not forget that Donald Trump used his time in office to cut taxes to the ultra-wealthy and corporations, and we don't want to go back to those days. Vice President Harris delivered tax cuts to families through the child tax credit while she was vice president, and she's going to continue on that trajectory as our next president. The choice could not be more clear. We must show up for our children and our families and reject Donald Trump's extreme agenda by casting our votes for Vice President Harris and Governor Walz this November. Thank you, and I will now open it up to any questions.
Sir, I know Republicans are traveling across northeast Wisconsin today on a tour. Can you kind of respond to that and what they're putting out to the public?
Well, first, as a parent, I just want to say, I don't trust my kids with Donald Trump because he has been a convicted criminal, to include sexual assault. That's not somebody we want our kids to be with or to look up to. But when you look at his agenda, what I want to emphasize is his agenda is not pro-family. He wants to get rid of the Department of Education in the Project 2020 agenda. And when you look at him as past president, he put a CEO of a big pharma company to run our health and human services organizations. Do you think that guy is going to cut prescription drug prices for our kids? Or he put a CEO of a fossil fuel company to run the Environmental Protection Agency. Do you think that guy is going to protect our drinking water for our kids? So I think what's really clear is that you can't trust what Donald Trump and his supporters are saying, because we've seen what they've done in the past. It's dangerous for our future and it's dangerous for our kids.
This morning, and even I'm sure later today, Trump supporters and his campaign, they continuously push back against the claims of his Project 2025 agenda. They say he does not have anything to do with Project 2025. What's your response to that?
We caught you. You can't. We know exactly that you are responsible for it. J.D. Vance was part of, writing Project 2025. He has been linked very clearly to the Heritage Foundation. If you look at their Trump tour, a lot of those members who are advocating for the Trump administration on this very Trump tour were a part of the Heritage Foundation and have been a part of writing Project 2025. So you just have to look at where this is coming from. It's coming from the Heritage Foundation, and they are responsible for this agenda. And we have seen them start to roll out these pieces. When you look at, the U.S. Senate could have had an opportunity to pass the Right to Contraception Act, which is a basic act that would give women the right to birth control, and they rejected it, which goes back to Project 2025 because they want to ban abortions.
How confident is the Harris campaign going into this final stretch of 40-some days, and what is going to be the strategy in these final weeks to win over undecided voters?
Well, as Wisconsinites, we know that it's a battleground state for a reason. And we're going to win this election by a few votes per ward. That's it. That's why Kamala Harris is showing up everywhere, whether it is here in Green Bay, to Superior, to Wausau, to Milwaukee, to Eau Claire, to La Crosse. She's meeting folks where they are, listening, and that's why you're seeing these policies like affordable housing, the child tax credit, and stopping price gouging against grocery stores, because we know farmers aren't getting this money. It's because she's listening to Wisconsinites, and her policies are showing that.
I know Ms. Harris was just in the state last week. Former President Trump will be here over the weekend. Obviously, very important to have a presence here in the state, but can you highlight what might be in the works for getting Harris here in Northeast Wisconsin, or even just talk about the importance of having a presence here, like you said, Green Bay, Appleton areas that we're sitting here right now?
We know how important the Fox Valley is. That's why we're here today, and the Harris-Walz team will continue to show up here in the Fox Valley, whether it is listening or doing roundtables, but meeting folks where they are.
All right. Good? All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.